and they're walking up the hill, and immediately it's clear something's gone wrong at John and Alice Madden's. Alice loved to garden. It was a way of feeding themselves and for her to relax, and the garden was gone. Some big animal looked like it'd come in and taken out the fence, and the squirrels and raccoons done the rest. And the house was sagging a little bit. The front porch looked droopy and tired, and they were worried that maybe, given another winter with no repair, the place might collapse, leave nothing but a foundation. But they keep going in, and they get to the front porch, and the door's only on one hinge, just hanging there. They pull it open, and they come inside, and there are animals everywhere. Bats are chirping above them. There are raccoons and squirrels, and all manner of things nested all around. There's a single bed in the side of the room that's usually shared by John and Alice, and they can see that someone's pulled the old stove all the way into the room, ripped up all the floorboards just to get it close enough to that bed. Someone who was freezing, someone who was doing anything to survive. And they look around, and one of them calls out, "Alice! Alice, are you in here? Are you okay? Alice!" They don't hear anything except for a and they move a little farther back into the house, into the kitchen, and that's where they find Alice. And they say, "Oh my God, Alice, you're alive. Are you all right? What happened? We found John. I'm sorry he didn't make it." And Alice is sitting in her rocking chair, staring at the place in the wall where the stove used to be. And they get in front of her, and they look at her, and her fingernails are growing out, and they're in points, jagged points, and she's wearing an apron that's splattered with dried blood and mud, and her hair is long and growing down past her shoulders and grizzly, and it's gone gray over the winter, like she's starved. And they look at her and they go, "Alice, what happened? Are you okay? Can't you talk to us?" Alice doesn't say anything. But just then, a spider from right behind her ears, where her bangs stop, comes scuttling out under her chin, goes right up into her nostril, and she blinks. She blinks once. Doesn't do anything else. And they all back off. They take a breath, and they really start in. They start trying to talk to her. They start talking about folks she knows, her jams, how much they like her pies, their memories of John. They do anything that they can to get her out of that chair, anything to get her to look at them, but they don't dare touch her. The whole time, Alice is staring at where that stove used to be, going back and forth in that chair. And there's nothing they can do. The sun starts to come down, and they decide that they're going to leave a man there in case she snaps out of it. They're going to go back down and have some dinner, and they're going to change watches, and they're going to try again tomorrow. And if they can't get her up, they're going to have to try and take her into Granite, and then into Everett, and then maybe in Seattle, and see what can be done. So they're at their camp. They've struck up a fire. They start talking. They're a little bit spooked, you know. And they're warming up around this fire. And one of them says, "You know, I bet Alice would snap right out of it if she could smell these beans." One of them says, "Hey, that's a great idea. We should bring her up some hot food. Remind her what it means to be human. It means to be a person." And so they get out a little pan and pour some hot beans into it. And one of the 4 remaining men down at the camp is sent up to where Alice and the man on watch are. And they hear a scream. Not really a scream, more a start. Sound of surprise. Echoes off the hills. And they all freeze. And they start talking real quiet in whispers like someone's trying to listen. What are we going to do? Are we going to go up there? Do you think it was anything? We should wait. Should we wait? And the sheriff says, we'll give it a couple seconds. And into the clearing bursts one of his deputies, and he's got a chunk of his ear missing, and he says, Alice is awake. Alice is up. She's moving. I couldn't see anybody else up there, but she came at me. And they don't know what to do. They build up the fire a little higher, and they group around it. And the sun starts to come down the very edge of it off Hurricane Ridge. And the sky's like this, just getting into dark dusk. And they start seeing shadows, because all the woods had been burned out a few years back in a big fire, and you could see Hurricane Ridge. And shadows start coming down, these flickering shadows across their campfire, and they think it's in their minds, and they begin to recognize the shapes of wolves, rocks. They look up, and up on Hurricane Ridge, there's a pack of wolves, and they're just getting ready to start hunting. And they begin circling up, and one of the big wolves, alpha male, goes into this circle all bristled up, his fur sticking out, lifts his head and goes, and leaves the circle. And the wolves continue to circle. Dust starts rising up, and the shadows disappear, and the moon is rising, and a second wolf comes into the circle and throws its head back and goes, and then they circle again. They keep circling. And a third wolf comes up, this one longer than the others, with long, long gray hair. And they think just maybe what might have been at one point an apron, and lifts her head and goes,
Nice, Bill. You got it.